She could feel it, a powerful presence all around her. She was in their territory now. There was no turning back. Suddenly, the forest fell silent. A colossal figure emerged from the mist. It was a silverback gorilla, a mountain of muscle and dark fur, with wise, deep-set eyes. He was even more magnificent and intimidating than the legends described. Farah's breath caught in her throat. This was the leader, the king of the highlands. He stood and watched her, his expression unreadable. Farah's instinct screamed at her to run, to flee back down the mountain. But she held her ground, remembering why she was there. Taking a deep breath, she did something no chimpanzee had ever dared to do. She stood tall and began to communicate. Not with fear, but with desperation and respect. Using a series of gestures, hoots, and calls, a universal language of distress, she painted a picture of the flood, of her trapped family, of the rising water that threatened to sweep them all away. She pointed back towards the lowlands, her gestures frantic but clear. She pleaded, not as a challenger, but as a child asking for help. She laid her heart bare, hoping the giant before her could understand. The silverback, whose name was Jabari, watched her intently. His troop gathered behind him, their dark eyes filled with curiosity. They had never seen a chimpanzee act this way. Jabari saw the genuine terror in Pharaoh's eyes, but he also saw her incredible bravery. He saw a leader, not of strength, but of heart. He turned and looked at his own family, safe on their high ground. He saw his own young ones playing without a care in the world, and in that moment, he understood. Compassion crossed the barrier of species. Jabari let out a deep, rumbling grunt. It wasn't a threat, but a command. He turned and began to lead the way back down the slope, his massive troop following him. Farah couldn't believe it. He was helping her. He was leading his family into the danger zone to help hers. Relief and gratitude washed over her in a wave so powerful it almost buckled her knees. Together, the gorillas and one very brave chimpanzee descended towards the flooded lowlands. The scene at the chimpanzee's home was dire. The water was higher than ever, and Coco was struggling to keep the troop together. Hope was all but lost. Then, through the rain, they saw it. A line of massive dark figures moving through the water, led by their very own Farah. It was a sight that would be etched into the memory of the forest forever. The gorillas, with their immense strength, waded into the churning water. They formed a living bridge, a chain of powerful bodies, creating a safe passage through the most dangerous parts of the flood. Jabari and his strongest males braced themselves against the current, their powerful arms holding onto sturdy trees. The other gorillas guided the chimpanzees, helping the mothers with their infants and assisting the frail elders. They worked together, the two species, in a silent, coordinated ballet of rescue. Farah worked alongside them, her small body buzzing with adrenaline, directing her family, reassuring the frightened, and helping wherever she could. She watched as the last and smallest chimpanzee was safely guided across the gorilla bridge to higher ground. As the two troops stood together on the safe, dry land of the highlands, the rain began to soften. A single ray of sunlight broke through the clouds, illuminating the scene. The chimpanzees chattered with overwhelming gratitude, grooming their saviors in a display of thanks. The gorillas responded with gentle grunts of acknowledgement. Coco, the old leader, approached Jabari. He looked the mighty silverback in the eye and bowed his head in a profound gesture of respect and thanks. A bond had been forged in the heart of the storm, a friendship that would be passed down through generations. Farah, the small chimp with the giant heart, became a hero. She had shown that courage isn't about size or strength, but about love and the willingness to take a risk for those you care for. And she had taught everyone, chimpanzee and gorilla alike, that in the face of adversity, the greatest strength lies not in isolation, but in reaching out a hand, or a paw, to a neighbor in need. The story of Farah and Jabari became a new legend in the rainforest, a timeless reminder that compassion knows no boundaries. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. The rescue is not elegant and it is not easy. The gorillas form a living chain in the water, the silverback anchored at the deepest. Point his hands, gripping a submerged root system, while the others brace against him and each other, creating a line of bodies that extends partway across the violent current. It is still not enough to reach the trapped chimpanzees, still meters short, but it creates a zone of calmer water behind the gorilla barrier, a pocket of relative safety in the otherwise lethal flow. She understands what must happen next. She must go into the water herself, must use the gorillas as anchors and shields, must traverse the distance they cannot cover and physically bring the trapped chimpanzees back. She does not hesitate, though fear claws at her chest, and her last experience with deep water nearly killed her. She wades into the current, feeling immediately the massive force of it trying to sweep her downstream, and she grabs onto the last gorilla in the chain, a young male who braces himself to support her weight. Hand over hand, she pulls herself along the gorilla line, fighting the current every centimeter, her arms burning with effort, her breath coming in gasps. When she reaches the end of the living chain, she launches herself toward the trapped chimpanzees, swimming with desperate strength across the remaining gap. The current catches her and tries to drag her downstream, but she is at an angle now, using the flow to help push her toward the small forested island where the trapped group huddles. She crashes into the trees at the island's edge, grabs hold of roots and branches, pulls herself to safety. The trapped chimpanzees see her and their calls shift from despair to hope, though that hope is tentative, because the path back is no clearer than the path she took to reach them. She gathers the youngest juvenile first, a small male barely old enough to have left his mother, and she positions him on her back where he clings to her fur with frightened desperation. Then she re-enters the water. The return journey is harder, burdened with the juvenile's weight. The current stronger now as the flood continues to rise. She focuses on the gorilla chain, visible through the rain and spray as a line of dark shapes holding position against impossible force. She swims toward them, arms and legs working in coordination. The juvenile on her back making small, frightened sounds but holding on, trusting her with his life. A surge of current hits them broadside and she goes under, the water closing over her head, cold and chaotic and full of debris. She kicks toward the surface, breaks through, gasps for air, sees the gorilla chain still there, still holding. She reaches the nearest gorilla and grabs his arm, and the entire chain adjusts to support her weight, each gorilla bracing the next, distributing the load. She passes the juvenile forward, hand to hand along the gorilla line, until he reaches the safe shore where the chimpanzee troop is gathered. Then she goes back. 5 more times she makes this journey, each time more exhausted, each time fighting a current that seems determined to kill her, each time supported by gorillas who hold position with a patience and strength that defies any normal understanding of interspecies behavior. The last one she brings across is a mother with an infant clinging to her chest, too terrified to swim, too weak from days of limited food to make the attempt alone. She supports the mother in the water, keeping her head above the surface, pulling her along the gorilla chain while the infant shrieks in fear but maintains its grip. They nearly do not make it. A massive surge of water hits just as they reach the midpoint, and the force is enough to tear the mother from her grasp. The mother goes under, still clutching her infant, sinking in the churning brown water. Without thinking, she dives after them, her eyes open in the murky current, searching for any sign of movement. Her hand closes on fur, and she pulls, drags the mother back toward the surface, back toward the gorilla chain.